Okay, so we've turned our DX11 on, and the first thing we'll need to do is take the memory protect off. So hit the memory protect button, take it off, hit performance mode, select one. I'll just start with number 1, press the edit button here. Okay, now in the edit mode and the performance wise, we've got 14 different parameters, and they're written under keys 1 to 14 here: key assign mode, maximum notes, voice number, etc. So we hit number 1. It says performance edit, assign mode normal, and you can change that to alternate, where it plays different voices every time you play the same key, but I don't use that personally, so I'm just going to leave it on normal. Next one is maximum notes. Now you'd notice if I've, well, another thing to say is that each performance patch has 8 slots in it, so there's 4 here. If we go to the next page, we can see the next 4, and you'll notice that max notes is set to 0 on all of them. So yeah, lo and behold, we can't hear anything. So if I set the first slot here, max notes 1, all of a sudden I can hear something, so that's good. So if we go to number 3, which is the voice number, this is where you choose the patch to go in that slot. So we've got IO2 fretless V there for some reason. So if we just pick, just pick A. We'll start with AO1, synth strings 1, preset A, preset A number 1, and we've got our strings. Now you'll notice I can't play more than one note. Well, yeah, it's obvious, because in the maximum notes here, I set that slot to have 1 note maximum. So unless I increase that to 8, because we've got 8 note polyphony on the DX11, now I can play up to 8 notes. But for this demonstration, I'll just set that to 4, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another voice in the second slot, and I'm going to set the maximum notes there to 4. So we're only going to use 2 slots in this patch. So if I go to the second slot and increase that to 4, if I then go to the voice number and I set that to the same thing, so in slot number 1 we have preset A1, and in slot number 2 we have preset A1, and both of them are set to 4 notes each. We're now playing effectively the same voice but twice every time we hit a key. Well, what's the point of that? Well, basically for unison mode, because on the instrument detune, which is number 7, here we can set the first voice to have, we'll say, +4 detune, and the second voice to have -4 detune. And you can hear the detuning that's going on between the 2 voices, which is like a unison mode. If you want to play just 1 note at a time, you could have all 8 slots set to maximum note 1 and detune all of them ever so slightly, and you can have you can end up with a very big unison effect. And I can show you that if I come out of edit mode. If I show you this patch here in single mode called OB1, if I go into performance mode, where I've laid it up, you can hear the difference. So that is 4 slots filled with that patch, and the next 4 slots filled with that patch. And if you look at the detuning, hang on, edit, right, yeah, on the detuning you've got +1, -1, -2, +2, -1, +1, -2, +2 on the detuning. But what we've also got here is note shift on number 8, and on note shift we've got plus 12 and 0. So these are semitones. So the first 4 slots, I've got the patch playing 1 octave higher, in effect, than the patch in the next 4 slots. And if we go to instrument detune, I've got all those 4 that are lower slightly detuned against one another, and then all the 4 patches that are 1 octave up, I've got all those slightly detuned against one another. So that's why we end up with that big unison sound. So that's one thing we can do. If we go back now to our test one, I'll show you what how a split keyboard works. So we're back on our test one, which has got nothing in. So if we go into maximum notes, oops, didn't go into edit, hit performance, hit edit, hit maximum notes, sorry, performance number 1, edit, maximum notes, and they're all 0. So let's go to 1 on there and 1 on there. So the first slot's got 1 note, the second slot's got 1 note. So I'll tell you, well, we're just going to split the keyboard down the middle, 1 patch up here, 1 patch down there. So as we've only got 8 notes of polyphony, I'm going to have 4 in the second slot and 4 in the first slot. So if we go to the voice number, if we make this, there we go, there's a bass sound. Okay, so we've got well, actually at the moment we've got a layered patch, because what we haven't done is split the keyboard in the right place. So parameter number 5 is the low note limit. So yeah, they're both set to the same for slot 1 and slot 2, so that's not what we want. So if we split on, let's split on C3 right here. So what I want to do is the low note limit for the second slot should be this one here, so C sharp 3. So we need to change that to C sharp 3. Okay, there it is. Right. And then we need to press number 6, which is the high note limit. And we need to make sure that slot number 1 doesn't go any higher than C3. But we want slot 2 to go all the way up as far as it will go. So we just push that all the way up to G8, which is as high as you can go. Okay. So we've created a split on C3, C sharp 3. So anything below C3 is played by the patch in slot 1, and anything above C3 is played by the patch in slot 2. So if we go back to the voice numbers, what have we got? Then it's okay. So we've got a bass sound down here and a very high sounding brass sound. Let's just pick something else. That'll do. So we've got a brass sound up here, bass sound down here, and we've got a split keyboard. The second thing we can do. So first thing we can do is put things into unison mode by detuning them against one another. Second thing we can do is split the keyboard and play 1 patch down here and another one up here. Third thing we can do, which we've already accidentally done, is to layer patches on top of one another. So if we change, all we need to do for that is we just change the note limits. So if we just say low note limits, take the second slot patch down to C-2, the same as slot 1, and then we go to the high limit on the notes, and we take slot number 1 all the way up to G8 as well. Now wherever we play, we hear both of the patches at the same time. So we've got 2 patches layered on top of one another all over the keyboard. And again, you've got, if we go back to the slots. You've got 8 slots, so you don't have to do it with just 2. You could do it with up to 8 different patches all playing at the same time, if that's what you wanted. And then the fourth thing you could do is you could put it into multi-timbrel mode. So you've got 2 slots there. If you hit number 4, which is the MIDI receive channel, you see they're both set to 1 and 2. Both set to channel number 1. So you could set 1 to 1 and the next one to 2, and then using your DAW or sequencer or whatever you've got, you can then trigger one off MIDI channel 1 and one off MIDI channel 2. So you can play it in a multi-timbrel way. And then the fifth thing you could do is you can combine all 4 of those things really and do whatever you like. Personally, I don't really use multi-timbrel mode. I don't see the point. I don't really use layered patches much either. I just tend to do that in the DAW. But a split keyboard is more kind of a performance thing. So mostly what I use it for is just the unison mode to be able to get. So for instance, if I come out of edit mode, if I show you what this patch called OB1 sounds like on its own, and then what you can do with it if you put it into all 8 slots, have 4 of them an octave higher than the other 4 slots, and then detune them all against one another. You can get a really big unison sound out of it, which is primarily what I use performance modes for. Anyway, there you go.